she's been busy today. She taught Sunday school this morning, and now she's teaching us. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to see everybody today. Today, as you probably know, the first Sunday in November is the Sunday that, at least in the Methodist Church, we celebrate as All Saints' Day. And that is a day in which we remember and give thanks for those who have gone before us in the life of the faith. And, you know, a lot of times on All Saints' Day, we'll sing the song, "For All the Saints." Y'all know that one? So, we didn't sing that this morning at my church. We did, the gentleman played it on the organ. But today, we did something that I'd never done before in my life, and I didn't know whether it was going to work or not. But it worked out okay. One woman started off singing "I'll Fly Away," and then I came in and sang "Swing Low" at the same time. She was singing "I'll Fly Away." And then the third person came in and sang "When the Saints Go Marching In." And then the fourth person came in and sang a song that goes, "I'm going to sing, sing, sing. I'm going to shout, shout, shout." So you got four people singing four different songs at the same time.
Oh, good.
But the harmony worked out, and so I was glad to see that worked out. And people were saying, "Oh, we like that. Y'all do that again." So I asked the woman who came up with it. I said, "Well, do you know any other songs that you can sing at the same time and have that kind of harmony?" So I don't know. Maybe y'all have to help me come up with some. But songs of praise from whatever tradition, they always lift my spirit. And so when we sing these songs, I think about the choir of angels singing and give thanks to all those saints that have gone before. But in Sunday school, which Jane alluded to the fact that I taught today, we looked at the meeting of the Apostle Paul with the Roman ruler Agrippa. And one of the ideas which came forth in that Sunday school lesson was the ways in which Paul continued to preach and share his testimony no matter what the circumstances he was facing. So I'm going to read a passage from the Acts of the Apostles, and it's a little bit long, but it kind of takes us through this story. So Chapter 25, Paul appeals to the emperor. 3 days after Festus arrived in the province, he went from Caesarea to Jerusalem, where the chief priests and the Jewish leaders brought forth their charges against Paul. They begged Festus to do them the favor of having Paul come to Jerusalem, for they had made a plot to kill him on the way. Festus answered, "Paul is being kept a prisoner in Caesarea, and I myself will be going back there soon. Let your leaders go to Caesarea with me and accuse the man if he's done anything wrong." So Festus went on another 8 or 10 days with them, and then they went to Caesarea. On the next day he sat down in the judgment court and ordered Paul to be brought in. When Paul arrived, the Jews who had come from Jerusalem stood around him and started making many serious charges against him that they were going to prove. But Paul defended himself. "I have done nothing wrong against the law of the Jews or against the temple, against the Roman Empire." But Festus wanted to gain favor with the Jews, so he asked Paul, "Would you be willing to go to Jerusalem and be tried on these charges before me there?" Paul said, "I am standing before the emperor's own judgment court, where I should be tried. I have done nothing wrong to the Jews, as yourselves well know. If I have broken the law and done something for which I deserve the death penalty, I do not ask to escape it. But if there is no truth in the charges they bring against me, no one can hand me over to them. I appeal to the emperor." So Festus, after conferring with his advisors, answered, "You've appealed to the emperor, so to the emperor you will go." So some time later, King Agrippa and Bernice, the queen, came to Caesarea to pay a visit to welcome to Festus. After they had been there several days, Festus explained Paul's situation to the king. "There's a man here who was left a prisoner by Felix, and when I went to Jerusalem, the Jewish priests and elders brought charges against him, and asked me to condemn him. But I told them, we Romans are not in the habit of handing over any man accused of a crime before he has met his accusers face to face, and he's had a chance of defending himself. When they came here, then, I lost no time, but on the very next day I sat in the judgment court and ordered the man to be brought in. His opponents stood up, but they did not accuse him of any of the evil crimes I thought they would. All they had were some arguments with him about their own religion and about a man named Jesus who has died, but Paul claims he's alive. I was undecided about how I could go get information on these matters, so I asked Paul if he would be willing to go to Jerusalem and be tried on these charges. But Paul appealed. He asked to be kept under guard to let the emperor decide the case. So I gave orders for him to be kept under guard until I could send him to the emperor. Well, the next day they come in to hear what Paul has to say about himself, just skipping forward a little bit. Agrippa said to Paul, "You have permission to speak on your own behalf." Paul stretched out his hands and defended himself as follows. "King Agrippa, I consider myself fortunate that today I am to defend myself before you from all the things the Jews accuse me of, particularly since you know so well all the Jewish customs and disputes. I ask you then to listen to me with patience. All the Jews know how I have lived ever since I was young. They know how I've spent my whole life, at first in my own country and then in Jerusalem. They've always known, if they're willing to testify, that from the very first I have lived as a member of the strictest party of our religion, the Pharisees. And now I stand here to be tried because of the hope I have in the promise that God made to our ancestors, the very thing that the 12 tribes of our people hope to receive as they worship God day and night. And it is because of this hope, Your Majesty, that I'm being accused by the Jews. Why do you who are here find it impossible to believe God raises the dead? I myself thought I should do everything I could against the case of Jesus of Nazareth. That's what I did in Jerusalem. I received authority from the chief priests and put many of God's people in prison. And when they were sentenced to death, I also voted against them. Many times I had them punished in the synagogue and tried to make them deny their faith. I was so furious with them, I even went to foreign cities to persecute them. And so it was for this purpose I went to Damascus with authority and orders from the chief priests. It was on the road at midday, Your Majesty, that I saw a light much brighter than the sun coming from the sky and shining around me and the men traveling with me. All of us fell to the ground, and I heard a voice say to me in Hebrew, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? You're hurting yourself by hitting back like an ox kicking against its owner's stick." "Who are you, Lord?" I asked. And the Lord answered, "I'm Jesus, whom you persecute. But get up and stand on your feet. I have appeared to you to appoint you as my servant. You are to tell others what you have seen of me today, and of what I will show you in the future. I will rescue you from the people of Israel and from the Gentiles to whom I send you. You are to open their eyes and turn them from the darkness to the light, and from the power of Satan to God, so that through their faith they will have their sins forgiven and receive their place among God's chosen people." I told you it was sort of a long